Hello and welcome to another Ben Code Swift programming tutorial in the Ben Code Swift programming series. And today we're going to be talking about delegations, and this goes off our last video where we introduced protocols and how to declare them. So if you haven't yet seen that video, I strongly recommend you go back and watch that so you familiarize yourself with what we're going to be talking about in this video. So basically, here's what we're going to need to do. We're going to create a product name first. We're going to create a view-based application. Simple enough. We're going to call it, put it in Swift, universal device, doesn't matter. We're going to call it delegation. That's it. And etc. etc. And we're going to use this because, for our example of delegation, we're going to be using the storyboarding because that's that's what I think is the best way to teach how delegation works and stuff. So one of the things you're going to need to know first, though, and we're just going to type some things in here just so you get the idea. So the first thing we're going to talk about, MVC, or the model view controller. Basically, this whole thing is a model of programming, but so on. You get the idea. So, what is the MVC? You might have heard this if you've done your own research in iOS coding or anything like that. You might have seen MVC model view controller, something like that. Basically, it's a pattern of programming, and it's a way of sort of keeping your code organized. So you've got three parts, right? You've got the model, and what the model does is it deals with data, and that's all it does. It doesn't interface with the user at all. The user never touches it, nothing like that. It never deals with the views or anything. You've got the view. Deals with the user, takes input, and gives output. That's all it does. It doesn't deal with the data, it doesn't store anything, it doesn't calculate anything, that's it. Only deals with the user, takes input, gives output, that's it. One other thing it does, the third part is the controller. What the controller does is it passes or it delegates, because we're talking about delegation, the model and view. Passes appropriate info between. So that's the MVC model. So think of the model on the left, the view on the right, and the controller in the middle. And the controller is the only point at which the model and the view can talk to each other. It's through the controller. The view and the model cannot talk to each other individually, and that's why you have the controller. And it's a way of organizing code efficiently. Okay, and that's sort of the best way I can think of doing it. And because it's iOS and a lot of it is view-based, that's why the MVC model works so well in iOS. So you're always going to really want to be using the MVC model if you're coding iOS. So, there's a coding website called Making App Pie, and they have a model view controller tutorial. Not much tutorial is a guide, sort of an explanation. But a while back when I was reading their tutorials, they created something of, basically a pizza ordering system. That's how they dealt with the MVC model, and they taught it. And we're going to work our way through that. We're going to work our way through that with them in their tutorial. You can Google it. I think it's under Why Do We Need Delegates and Making App Pie. If you want to see their code, but we're gonna go through it ourselves and sort of give a little bit of a more detailed explanation as to what they're doing and why they're doing it. So basically, as I say, they're parts of the program that deal with information that we want to process. That fits into the model, obviously. It deals with the data, it deals with the information that we need. And then what's the other part of it, on the complete other side, is there's the view. And it's going to be taking the order, and then it's going to be feeding the user information about the order. And that's all it's going to do. It's not going to deal with the order itself at all. And it's not going to send the model information itself, right? It's going to go through the controller. And sort of that's where the controller comes in, and it connects the two, and it sort of controls the two, obviously, as you'd expect. So the first thing we're going to do to start, though, is we're going to create a class. We're going to create a class called Pizza. And you could create your own .swift file, obviously, if you really wanted to, just to separate things up. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to be doing that. just so I can keep it on one file. But obviously, I would strongly recommend if you're creating big apps that you do separate it between files just to make it easier on yourself. But I'm going to just create a class. I'm going to call it pizza, right? Because what we're going to want to do, we're going to ultimately, throughout this whole process, we're going to want to end up with a pizza. So I'm going to create a class called pizza, and then we're going to be declaring a bunch of variables. If you look at theirs, they're going to have a ton of variables in theirs. They're going to have a ton of. We're going to really simplify it here, just so that we get used to delegates and how they work. So basically, we're going to create a variable called pizza topping, and we're going to create. I'll call it this. We're going to make it a string, and we're going to have. That's it. We're not going to have crust. They have crust. We're not going to be doing that. It's too complicated for this tutorial. We're going to just simplify it down. What we are going to do, though, is we are going to use their pizza size. We're going to create a variable called pizza size, which is a double. We're going to create a variable called pizza radius, which is also a double. Quick sec. Sorry. Just got a little crazy with the curly braces there, I guess. Okay, yeah, don't worry about that yet. So basically what I did here, you probably haven't seen this syntax before. What it means is basically I'm going to be declaring, pizza radius is a double, but instead of, actually giving it a size or anything here like that, I'm just gonna, as soon as we get pizza size, and we can declare pizza radius, it's going to be pizza size divided by 2.0. And you'll see how that comes into play later on. So just type that in for now. That's not important just yet. Then we're going to create some, some constants here. We're going to let pi obviously equals 3.14159. 26. We could go on 3.75. We could go on 400. We're going to cut off at 6. And then we're going to go let crust. No, we're actually not going to let crust because we didn't take crust. So then what we're going to do is we're going to create the initializer, right? And basically the initializer, as we saw in any other class, is going to be how it's going to set up. Simple enough, just the init function. Oops, I don't know why that happened. Autocomplete. And we're going to use topping, because when we create a pizza, we're going to obviously need to add a topping to it. And then we're just going to do a size. Simple enough. We're going to declare. We're just, obviously as you would in Java or any other language, we're going to set the pizza topping to topping, and we're going to set the pizza size to the size. Nothing fancy here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a function. So func, and we're going to call how much cheese. How much cheese do I put on a pizza? It's very important. We're going to how much cheese. And we're going to pass in a height for the amount of cheese, double. And we're going to return a double. Why? Because it needs a double to figure out how much cheese, and it's going to return a double to tell you, it needs this information to be able to calculate how much cheese, and then it needs to return it, obviously. That's why we're doing this. And then we're going to put in our curly braces. Just for the sake of these tutorials, I'm putting the curly braces here, and I'll just do that to make it easier because that's what you're probably used to with Java. In iOS, though, we do generally, as part of practice, you put the semicolon here. It's just one of those things, but just so be aware if I do that accidentally, it doesn't make a difference. So then what we're going to do is obviously we're going to calculate that and return it, so we're just going to return. We're going to figure it out, so we're going to do pizza radius times pi. type. Now theirs has crust some sort of factored in somehow, but we're just not going to even worry about the crust right now. And you know, we can adjust this later on, but we're just going to make it simple. So this is our pizza class, right? And that's what a pizza needs. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to create a pizza order class, because obviously when you phone in a pizza order, that's what we're going to need. So just bear with me here and go along. We're going to call it pizza order. First thing we're going to need is, okay, you know, I'm going to order pizza. But what if I want to order 2 pizzas, right? And that's something you need to think about from the start when you're programming. So you want to think, you know, there's a whole thing of think small and then get bigger, not with programming. You want to think full ahead of time because you want to make it expandable. You don't have to go back and rewrite code later on, so on, so on. So we're going to create, okay, you know what? No. We're going to create an array of pizzas first. We're not just creating a pizza, we're going to create an array of pizzas because you might want to order more than one. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a private variable. The reason it's private is, because, just encapsulation, and you should have learned this in AP Computer Science. We don't want to be sharing everything publicly from individual classes themselves. They don't need that information. Something in Java you probably saw a lot is you have pizza topping. You would create a get pizza topping, a get pizza size, a set pizza topping, a set pizza size. Not in iOS. You can just do whatever you call your pizza instance dot pizza topping, just to get the property. You don't really need to be making the get methods and the set methods, not in iOS. But in any case, we're going to create a var called pizza array. Obviously, we're going to declare it of type integer, and not integer, but it's going to be type array of pizza because we want to create multiple pizzas. And we're going to declare it as empty for now. Next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to create a private variable. Table number, we're going to store what table the pizzas are going to. And so, how do we do that? Integer array. So then we're going to create a function called add order. And here's how we do it. Sorry. Just type this along real quick and then we'll go back afterwards and so here you'll notice, however, we are doing a add order and we're doing a get order. But just bear with me for now real quick. Okay? Thank you. Get order, we're going to take in an index integer. We're going to return pizza. And obviously, as you probably expect, all we're going to return here is we're going to return the specific pizza in the index, or other words. So we're going to type pizza array. And we're going to just put index inside. Right? And then we'll return whatever pizza's in that index of array. So that's our class of pizza order, right? And this is, let's here for a sec. I'm going to also introduce you real quick to something called a pragma mark. And basically a pragma mark, it's really just to be included with code. It doesn't do much, but it allows you to separate things. And I'll show you how to do that. We're going to use it like this, called pragma mark, and then that, right? And all we're just going to do is I'm going to do this as the model. Okay? And what that means is if I click here, here, as you can see, what we're going to be able to do here is we're going to be able to do that up here too. Is I'll create a pragma mark here. Controller, and I'm going to create a pragma mark here. I'll call this view. So basically the idea is now with pragma mark is we've got these, this deals with our controller, this deals with our model, and anything below here deals with our view. However, actually this is really going to be our controller, and this is really going to be our view. Just for now, we can change it. Anyway, we're going to continue on now. So this is our model class. And this is what deals with all of the data we need. Obviously, as you can see, it doesn't present any information to the user. It doesn't ask for any information from the user, hence why it's part of the model. And it doesn't deal with the views at all. It doesn't directly communicate. That's how we know it's the model. So, obviously the view, never actually is going to interact with the data. It's never going to touch the data or anything like that. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set up our view. Now this is sort of where it gets fun, to be fun in iOS coding. So before we do that, I'm going to end this video here at 15 minutes long, just so you can go and watch the part 2 of this video that's going to come later tonight. And basically, we're going to finish out our pizza ordering app. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be our first app, our first big app. So I hope you watched the second part of this tutorial. I hope you found this educational. We're walking through the Making App Pie. I give them a lot of credit. They're a great coding blog. They do a lot of great things. And obviously we're walking through. We're giving more detailed explanations to why we're doing these things, and so on. So I hope we see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.